So Sal Gozzo, um, Tulane baseball player from 2017,
16.
16 to 2019. I coached you for 2 years as an infielder. Um, you know, the reason I chose you to do this call is, you exhibited a type of work ethic that I think more people need to take on. And we'll kind of dive into that here in a second. But you know, you personally, you could always play defense, right? That was your thing. Like that's what makes you valuable. And looking at someone who's already blessed with a good glove and a good arm and has some speed, um, you took that ability and amplified it and made yourself a great shortstop by just putting in the time and energy. What I want you to kind of, to put out there is what does that look like? Because everybody says, "Hey, I want you to work hard," right?
Yeah.
Everybody says work hard.
Yeah.
But what does working hard look like in terms of the time commitment, the organizational aspect, the you know getting up in the morning and saying, "Gosh, I just don't want to do this. I don't feel like going to take extra ground balls. My body hurts. We didn't have a great weekend. I had a bad game yesterday, whatever it is." Kind of diving into that mental aspect. Some of those days, like, I just don't want to do this right here, but I got to get up and do it.
Yeah.
Um, so you just go and we can start with your experience at Tulane, or if you want to start in high school, whatever you want. I really don't care. But you just go.
And it basically comes down to baseball is a game of repetitions, you know. And in order to get good at something, you need constant reps, and the right way of doing it, though, And we would go out there every day, and we would work on a few little things. And yeah, I didn't feel amazing every single day. Body was hurting, had to get up early for class, whatever it was. Um, but I knew that just a little bit each and every day was going to get me that much better, you
Right.
know. And just knowing that, and I think also having a routine is very important too, not only for getting your body right, but your mind right too. So if you have a routine, even if you have a bad game, or you had a bad day at school, or whatever it was, having that routine is gonna get you in the right place. Doesn't matter if you had a great game, had a bad game, or you have a game coming up, whatever it is. I think having the same routine, and telling yourself, okay, I might feel bad physically, I might feel bad mentally, but this is what I got to do every single day, and this is what it's going to benefit me in the long run.
Right.
Um,
Well, I think from a coaching standpoint, and I've had a lot of people say that the routine is so important. I think from a mental aspect, why that routine is important. It gives you consistency, um, and it gives you some predictability to the day, because you know as well as anybody how unpredictable life and baseball are.
oh yeah,
And some days we wake up, for instance, let's say, some days you wake up and your swing just ain't there. It's just not there. Like yesterday it was good, now today it's bad. Or I can't field a ground ball, like I don't know where the ball's going when I release it, like whatever it is. I think that's the human side of baseball, that makes it so difficult. Um, just because we're human, but that consistency and that routine, that frame of mind that I can kind of immerse myself into on a consistent basis, it starts to mold the brain a little bit, here, I think a lot of kids, um, I think they go up to a game or a practice and they approach it thinking, I hope my ability finds itself. I hope my ability shows up. And I think that routine and that consistency gives that more predictability and that confidence to go out there and succeed instead of it's a coin flip. I have it today or I don't. I'm gonna do the best job I can to make that happen. Now, does it happen every single time? Probably not, but you give yourself the best chance to make that a reality, so to speak.
Right.
An infielding perspective, I mean, from the things that I taught you, the things that Travis mentioned to you, what stuck with you? What do you continue to think about on a daily basis as you're, playing baseball?
I think there's two main things, and I teach the kids this, and this helped me through the minors, and I think this is what's helped me be a very good infielder is that staying through the baseball as we field it. I remember you would constantly preach that to me, not being stationary and having my momentum go towards first base. Still staying square to the baseball and first base so that if there is a bad hop, I'm able to adjust to it. I can still keep it in front of me, and I'm still able to make the play at first base.
Mhm.
That's huge. Like you see a lot of kids, they want to, break down, stop, make sure we catch the ball, and then we go throw. But again, as the game gets faster, you go in bigger fields, like the throw is going to be longer, guys are going to run faster, so you don't have that much time anymore. Um, and then the importance of getting the right hop, the importance of the short hop. I like we would talk about like most of the hops you're going to get. It's going to be a long hop, but a lot of them is going to be a short hop, especially like low ground ball. So the importance of understanding the hops, reading the hops, getting that short hop, like going on the machine, just working on being comfortable with that short hop. A lot of kids, they're very hesitant, with that short hop, and they're very hesitant with their glove action. I remember, I used to be a guy that would funnel a lot. I remember you would hammer that into me and like coming through the baseball with the glove.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what backhand, forehand, straight up, coming through it, getting that short hop, instead of if I funnel, if I bring my glove in, right, I'm making that longer or making that hop longer than it is.
Mhm.
So those two things I think are very helpful, especially young infielders. And again, like you take 5-10 minutes, you work on coming through a short hop, you're gonna realize in the game, okay, this was a lot easier, right? But if you
Right.
don't work at that, right, if you don't work at that at all, and you go into a game and you go to field ground ball and you're like, oh, that took a bad hop. Well, yeah, that took a bad hop, but you let the ball play you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You didn't go get that right hop, or your glove went from I'm up high, then I'm going low.
Right.
Or is I'm going to get a short hop, but then I'm coming and try to funnel it, and then now it's a long hop. Now it's eating me up.
Right. So you can kind of, you have more control than you think
Yes.
on the actual hop that it takes. Now you play on a goat track,
Right.
you may get some more bad hops than some other places.
Right.
But especially as those fields get bigger, you have a little bit more time, a little bit more ability to see the ball, get around it, see the angle you have to take.
Right.
Um, and I that kind of goes into another point I want to talk about, or a phrase that gets said a lot is, getting out of your comfort zone and over adjusting and overdoing things and then working back from there. Um, we talk a lot, our coaches tell our kids all the time, like, if we're trying to make an adjustment, do it harder and faster and more out of control than you think. And then once you get to that point where it's too much and it's too aggressive,
Mhm.
or you're charging the ball too fast,
Yeah.
now we can work back from there.
Right.
And, I remember we would do some drills where, especially on, maybe slow rollers or balls or routine balls. I just said, I just want you to run as hard as you can to the baseball. I want
Remember.
you to run wherever it is, just run straight at the baseball, um, create the angle, and then focus on the aggressiveness first. And then once the aggressiveness has gotten too much, we can pull it back from there. And now that's actually that change actually gets implemented, instead of saying, Sal, I want you to charge the ball.
Right. Right.
Sal, charge the ball. Sal, you're not charging the ball. Sal, charge the ball. Uh, what is that, making that over adjustment and being too much on the extreme side and then working back from that? What does that look like for you? How do you interpret that?
I interpret that as just, being aggressive and playing fast,
Mhm.
right? So if you don't practice some of the reps and game speed, or even like overdoing it, right? How are you going to be comfortable in a game when it's a slow roller, fast guy, and I need to get this guy out,
Right.
right? Man on third base hit a slow roller, like that run's going to score if I don't get him out,
Right.
right? So if I don't practice coming and getting that ball and I'm charging and I might be out of control, but I got to make the play no matter what.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I remember you would say like, yeah, it's not going to look pretty all the time, right? But like in practice, we want the right reps, doing it the right way. But at the end of the day, we got to make the play,
Right.
right? So doing it over aggressively, doing it at a fast pace, like that's very important because like game speed is a lot different than practice,
Mhm.
and in the minors they would teach us like when you're taking ground balls, like there's no runner, right? There's no rush. Like make sure you get the fundamentals down, your feet right, right hop, make a good throw, right? But it comes to a point where okay, maybe the last 5, 10 ground balls, all right, game speed, right? Be aggressive. I would rather see, and I think you've said this to me. I'm sure you tell your kids this too. You rather see an aggressive mistake than a tentative, hesitant mistake,
Right.
right? In a ball that's a slow roller and you said, "Are you're charging it?" I'd rather see them charge it and make a mistake being aggressive than being hesitant, waiting on the ball, or something like that. So
Right.
that's how I interpret it. I mean, game speed is practicing game speed is very important because I mean that's how you're gonna be able to perform in a game.
Right.
If your body doesn't understand that concept mentally and physically, then it's going to be very hard for you to actually perform in a game at game speed.
Right. As long as you're aggressive and you play through the baseball and you throw the ball to the first baseman or wherever you're throwing it before the runner gets there and the umpire goes out, that's really all that matters, right?
All that matters.
So, I think there's a lot of technique. Um, there's a lot of technique that you can teach. There's a lot of, very basic fundamental things that you need to teach. But at the end of the day, man, what really matters is that umpire making the out sign. Doesn't matter how pretty you look, how ugly you look. It's all about that end result. And then, if you do make a mistake fundamentally, but you still get the base runner out, like, so what?
Right.
Um, so, I think from a training perspective, that's where we can be a little bit more, we call it sloppy. We can be a little bit more aggressive and experiment with some things. Um, and and because there are no consequences, but teaching that over aggression, teaching playing through the ball. I think the biggest barrier to actual learning in terms of training for infielding, for hitting, for anything, is just the fear of making a mistake, the fear of not doing something right, the fear of a coach yelling at you, the fear of letting your teammates down. Um, I mean, as you were a younger fielder, when I say younger, like your freshman year in college till, your junior, senior year, were you, was there a transition of I was scared when I started, I was a lot less scared when I finished? And what did that transition look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I think freshman year there was a little bit of like, wow, I mean, I'm a freshman. We're playing LSU, we're playing all these big time schools I've seen on TV. It's like a little bit, there's a timidness there. Like, I don't want to make a mistake, let the team down, or we're on TV. Like it all comes into play. And um, there was a transition. I think it was a sophomore year in the fall when you started working with me. Like just working every day again, getting the reps, doing it the right way, experimenting with things, like trying things that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with or I didn't used to do. It definitely gave me a lot more confidence knowing, okay, balls hit to me in the game, like I've done this play before in practice,
Hmm.
right? I know what my body is supposed to do. I know, how am I supposed to attack this ball? How do I make this play? Like, because I've done it before,
Hmm.
right? And necessarily it was uncomfortable at first, but once you do it every day, once you're doing it, you know, in practice or whatever, it becomes almost second nature
Hmm.
for you. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I tell these some of these little kids too, I'm like, you're gonna make mistakes, right? Baseball is a game of failure. The best hitters fail 7 out of 10 times, right? Fielders, they have a good percentage is 9.8 plus, right? 980 plus, right? You're gonna make some errors, right? It's about how we learn from those experiences, right? We make an error, it's all right. Want the ball hits you next time. Be like, okay, I didn't make that play. I'm gonna make this next play.
Right.
I remember I had a lesson a couple of days ago, and a kid made like 2 or 3 errors in 1 inning, and I told him, I go, look, it's gonna happen, right? But tell yourself every single pitch that's thrown, I'm gonna make this play.
Hmm.
This nice and simple saying, right? I still do it to this day. Be like, I'm making this play,
Hmm.
no matter what, right? That gets your mind in a right headspace,
Hmm.
right? Your body's ready. Like you put all the work in, you've taken ground balls, I've been doing it for a long time, right? Your mind is still there's still some doubts in there. Obviously, that's we're humans, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it is because we know baseball is a game of failure again.
Hmm.
So just telling yourself every single pitch, I'm making this play.
Yeah.
Just simple. I know some people think it's silly, but it's nice and simple.
Yeah.
You
Well,
do that, and I'm not gonna say you're gonna make every single play,
yeah.
right? But you're telling yourself, and you're readying your mind for every single pitch.
Yeah. Well, that telling yourself, I'm going to make this play versus I'm going to do the right things and I'm going to make coaches happy. I'm
No,
going to, or I'm going to look pretty when I do it.
no,
No, I'm just going to make the play, whatever
yes,
that
that's it.
means.
Whatever
Um,
it takes.
yeah, just whatever it takes. And going back to the being overly aggressive, I'd like to see players lay out a little bit more. Um, I think we I think we get so caught up seeing highlights on TV, um, or social media or something like that where, this guy fielded a ball and threw it 100 across the diamond. Like, which don't get me wrong, that's freaking sweet.
Yeah,
Like,
that's very
that's
impressive.
really awesome.
Yeah,
Um, but there's so much more to fielding, especially at the shortstop level. Um, you know, from a saving runs standpoint to the ability to lay out with a runner at second and third, to keep the run from scoring, the ability to kind of command the infield, having a conversation with your pitcher if he's walking the house. A catcher doesn't make a perfect throw to second base on a steal and you pick him up. and make the tag.
Mm.
If somebody makes a bad throw to you, instead of trying to get the out and stretching, you come off the base and save an errant throw for the guy taking a free 90. Understanding when not to throw the baseball to first base if the guy's already there. Understanding, first and second, one out, there's a relatively slow ball hit to the second baseman. We can't turn to, faking the throw to first and looking at third for a back pick. So there's all those little things that go there's so much deeper than just fielding the ball, looking pretty and throwing it across the diamond so someone can say, oh, look how smooth he is.
Right.
And you being a very smooth shortstop, like you are a very smooth shortstop, but what I tried to teach you and any infielder that I'm coaching is just like, listen, man, there's more to it. And going back to what I was mentioning earlier, the getting guys to lay out a little bit more, because I talk a lot about, even though you don't think you can catch that ball initially, try anyway. Try.
Right.
Go get it. Even if it's 20 feet away, go ahead and dive. Just see what happens. You may surprise yourself. And I'm sure you'll catch some flack from teammates like, why are you diving for that ball and all this stuff? And that's just baseball and that's life. But, if you end up making a play one time that you never thought you could make, you got to think to yourself, like, what other things am I missing out on?
Right.
It's like, I didn't know I could do that. Maybe I can do some other stuff too. Instead of the mind just kind of going like, I'm just going to leave that one alone. That's fine. Like, test yourself and see what you can do.
Right.
And if you lay out and it hurts for a second, so what? Now did you ever experience that? I mean, did you ever have a moment where you're just like, I really never thought I could make that play, but I tried and I made it. Now I got a little bit more confidence in my ability.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I tell these kids all the time, I was like, look, like, don't give up on the ball. Like, you'll be surprised at the balls that you can get to. And it was after freshman year, definitely getting more confidence and just ground balls in general and fielding and everything, and balls hit like in the hole or up the middle. Like, I was like, there's no way I can make this play, right? Even if I catch it, I was like, well, he's probably gonna be safe. And I get up and I go to throw it, I'm like, wow, he's out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, how do you know, if you, again, like you said, if you don't try? You know what I mean? And your teammates are going to appreciate it. The pitcher is definitely going to appreciate it, right? Your pitcher is going to appreciate you diving in the hole. Maybe it tips off your glove, but it keeps it like the ball right there and not going to the outfield. Or again, like man on second base and you dive and you save a run that way. They're going to appreciate it, right? And even if the ball gets in the outfield, he's going to see like, okay, he's willing to throw his body on the ground, on the line, basically, to try and help get an out here.
Yeah.
So and going back to what you're saying, like there's more to the game of baseball than just making it look good and look pretty. Yeah, like there's guys that they make it look good, they make it look pretty, but knowing the game of baseball, you can have a guy who doesn't look that great fielding, right? But if he makes all the plays, he knows what to do with the baseball, right? He saves runs in more ways than just making the great play, right? That people see that know baseball and they'll appreciate that more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a great point. Like, try.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen, especially at a young age, right? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously it's important, but it's not like you're in high school trying to get looked at for college, or you're trying to get drafted, right? See what you can do. It's going to benefit you once you get older, because you're like, okay, I've made that play when I was younger, or like maybe I can't get to it now, but I'm going to try and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to the point. I think a lot of people are afraid to admit it. And I certainly was when I played, but the fear of looking stupid,
Oh yeah.
the fear of looking awkward, the fear of making a mistake because people are watching, right? Um, there's always going to be someone that doesn't like how you do things, right?
Mhm.
For example, like if you lay out for a ball that's 20 feet by you or 20 feet to the side of you, and you are in that mindset, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to see what I can and can't do. And a kid lays out for that ball, and somebody somewhere that's in that stadium is going to look at that and go like, what is he doing? Like, I can't believe he's doing that. Why is he laying out for that ball? That's so stupid. He looks dumb or whatever. That was unnecessary. Like, whatever it is, right? And it's just like, those people don't matter. If I'm trying to do the things that I'm trying to do in order to get better, that doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't
No.
matter how stupid I look.
They're not
Um,
the ones. They're not the ones out there have to perform.
sure,
It's
they're not.
easy. It's
Yeah,
easy to be in the stands and look like, oh, okay,
yeah,
like that. Absolutely crazy.
yeah. That's good.
Um, but yeah, no. So it's easy to be sit in the stands and be like, oh, why'd you swing at that, or like, why'd he dive, or like, what was he thinking there?
Right,
It's it's
right. Well, it's like I've had other conversations with other people. It's like, well, you know, I think a lot of coaches get so caught up in well, let me use a better example. I think a lot of coaches get caught up in saying like, if it's a 2-0-3-1 fastball and a hitter takes it, right? If that pitcher paints a fastball 4 inches off the plate on a 2-0-3-1 count and the umpire calls it a strike, what do most coaches do?
you're like, why didn't you
Why are you
swing?
why are you taking
Yeah,
the
right,
fastball?
right, right, right.
Like I can't hit that pitch.
No.
I cannot hit that pitch hard.
And if I do, it's gonna be I'm getting myself out.
Yeah, I'm done, right?
Yeah,
And so it's easy to, when you're not up there doing it, to be like, God, what was he thinking?
right, right.
And I think that public perception or the coach or worrying about what other people think is so important in understanding how to get better.
Yeah.
So if you push that to the side and say, I'm going to stick with what I'm trying to do in order to get better, that's going to take you, further than you never thought you could go.